Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be reviewing AI Artificial Intelligence, a movie that I have been searching for years and only just learned the name of it this year. I'll explain after the intro. So yes, if you've seen my pickups video when I picked this movie up, you'll know the story of this. But for those who haven't seen that pickup, last month's pickups yet, why do I say that I've been searching for this for years? And well, the answer is, as a kid, in this very room, there was three films I remember watching on one of the local stations, RTE. Those were Bicentennial Man, which I've obviously found, watched, and reviewed on this channel. The Fifth Element, which I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen it in full yet. And then this film, Artificial Intelligence AI. And I never knew anything about this movie. There was bits and pieces that, stuck out in my memory, and I just did not know the name until last month whilst on Play Tendo Guy stream. The movie title got brought up, and alarm bells started to ring in my head. And so I looked up a trailer for it, and as soon as I saw the house, that clicked. The memory clicked for me, and I went down and bought a DVD copy. And I'm only after now, on the 14th of January, watched it. I actually literally just finished watching it. So, what did I think of this movie? It's good. Don't get me wrong, it is good, but it's also a weird one and can be scary at times, especially if you're watching it as a kid. No wonder certain scenes stuck with me after all of these years. But what is this movie about? Well, this movie centers around this family whose son is in intensive care. It's never explained what happened to him or what have you, but pretty much essentially dead. And so this cybernetic company decides, we have all these cybernetic people around ever since, global warming, and we've lost a lot of places that were by the sea. We've lost that to the sea, and there's starving people, all that. So we made artificial intelligent people for everything, and but they never made a boy. They never made a child. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but it wasn't explained in the film. And so they wanted to make a robot that can love, and that once it gets imprinted onto a person, that's it. That person will be be like a son, will do all that stuff, and it's there to help those who have lost a kid or who can't have kids, essentially. And so this couple gets David, essentially the AI boy, and at first the mother isn't too keen on it, and then eventually decides to imprint herself onto the boy, and that's how things go until she gets a phone call that their real son, Martin, is coming home. Yes, he is perfectly fine now, and there's a bit of sibling rivalry between the two boys, kind of, where Martin is a little bit jealous, and of course David is jealous of Martin because Martin's a real boy, and that. And so after Martin convinces David to cut a bit of hair off of his mother, which is the biggest Chekhov's gun there is I've ever seen in this movie. Then later, for Martin's birthday, when a group of his friends try to harm him, he grabs a hold of Martin, and he starts to walk backwards, bringing Martin, and they fall into the pool, and Martin almost dies, and then this causes the mother to essentially bring him back, but knowing that because he's been imprinted on, they'll have to destroy him. So instead of bringing him back to where he should be, the manufacturers, she ends up leaving him in the woods. And then we cut to the city with sex robots. Yes, that's a thing in this movie. And one of them, named Joe, played by Jude Law, is going to be framed for murder, because apparently one of the women that he's hooked up with had a angry boyfriend or husband that killed her. I think that's what they were leaning towards, and he then goes on the run, and then the Flash Finders find David and Joe, and which the Flash Finders are basically one of the best ways I can describe it is they're rednecks. Because literally, when you're watching this scene with the Flash Finders destroying the robots, and you look into the crowd, it's literally just a bunch of redneck Americans. And they're all for, um, we want the future to be humans, not robots. And so they'll go out and find rogue robots, and they'll bring them and they'll destroy them essentially in for sport. And the main owner of it is played by Brendan Gleeson, which when I was actually initially looking at the cast list, didn't see that until I actually saw him. I was like, oh, that's Brendan Gleeson. And so eventually, because David's there and he's a boy, people actually think he's a real boy. And so him and Joe managed to escape. And David's obsessed with becoming a real boy and with the Pinocchio story. So he wants to find this the blue fairy from Pinocchio. So they go to this place called Dr. No. And what I didn't know was that the person who does Dr. No's voice is Robin Williams. Then throughout the entirety of that scene, I did not recognize that it was Robin Williams' voice. So that was very interesting. And so, so they get answers to where to go, and they have to go to Manhattan. And so as Joe is getting arrested, David sneaks into one of their futuristic helicopters and unintentionally breaks Joe out, and then they go over to Manhattan where he was originally made, and it turns out that he was the first one, and they want to take his experiences and be able to implement that onto the other Davids, because there's more than one, and the female version, which I don't know the name of the female version. And so he gets really upset with that, and so he jumps into the water of Manhattan, the Sea of Manhattan, because as was stated in the beginning, sea levels have risen and reclaimed a lot of places, Manhattan being one of them. And so as he's down there, Joe sees this. He then finds the Blue Fairy, and so after Joe gets pulled away by a magnet, assuming he's dead now, it's never really explained, because then David takes the helicopter down into the ocean, down to where the Blue Fairy is, and he's constantly asking to be made into a real boy. And he does that for about 2,000 years. Everything gets frozen over, and he then gets free 2,000 years later, and he gets to spend one final day with his mother, and the movie ends. So, yeah, it was a weird one. There's definitely, a lot of weirdness in there. I know it was originally supposed to be a Kubrick film, and he was trying to work. He's been working on this for several years, and then he brought Steven Spielberg on to the project because, and when Kubrick died, he felt like Spielberg was the only person that would be able to continue on this film, and he did. and it's like I said, it's a good movie, but it is weird in places. You know, once Joe, Gigolo Joe shows up, and the Flesh Finders show up. That's when things start to get a bit weird, and especially terrifying if you're a kid. You know, seeing robots with half faces, no arms, and all that. It looks that's why that scene stuck out to me so much. I remember it a little bit different from when I was a kid. Um but yeah, there was, as I was watching it, there's definitely a lot of things that I could recall as a kid, and it's good. I have no issues with it. It's definitely one. It's not going to be one that I'll return to every year or every few years. I think it's just a one and done type of thing. Maybe I might revisit it at some point in the future, but it is just a one and done for me. You know, the mystery has been solved. I've watched the film. I like the film to a certain extent, and that's really it. Also, um, one thing that I didn't notice when they were going around Manhattan is the Twin Towers are still there, and that's because this film came out several months before 9/11, and then when it came to doing the DVD release of the film, Spielberg just decided to leave it in. So yeah, that's it's an interesting one. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all on the next video, which I can't remember what that is because I'm pre-recording a lot of these in advance. So yeah, I'll see you all next time.